One of the hardest parts of getting older is feeling like something's off in your body, but not knowing exactly what. It's not just aging, it's often your hormones too. When they fall out of balance, everything feels off. But here's the good news. This doesn't have to be the story of your next chapter. Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth is an herbal formula made with science-backed ingredients designed to fine-tune your hormones by balancing estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, and even stress hormones like cortisol. It helps with common issues such as hot flashes, poor sleep, low energy, bloating, and more. With over 40,000 reviews and a bottle sold every 24 seconds, the results speak for themselves. A survey found 86% of women lost weight, 77% saw an improved mood, and 100% felt like themselves again. Start your next chapter feeling balanced and in control. For a limited time, get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com with code NEXTCHAPTER at checkout. Visit happymammoth.com today and get your old self back naturally.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. That's ziprecruiter.com/zip. ziprecruiter.com/zip.
McCormick knows unbeatable flavor starts with the right spices. It's why we created Flavor Sealed. So anytime you peel back the seal of McCormick herbs and spices, you can be confident they will pack the same amount of flavor as the day they were packed. The kind of flavor that brings out the best of your favorite recipes and keeps everyone coming back for seconds, or maybe even thirds. McCormick, Flavor Sealed for unbeatable flavor.
Ready for a healthy, stress-free back-to-school season? Thrive Market's got your back with easy, high-protein meals, brain-boosting lunchbox staples, and low-sugar snack packs. Everything to simplify your busy mornings. Their groceries are high quality and no junk. Over 1,000 sketchy ingredients restricted and all trusted by parents so you can shop worry-free. Plus, their big back-to-school sale makes it the perfect time to stock up. Go to thrivemarket.com/podcast for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
DC politicians want to enact harmful credit card mandates that could take away your cash back and rewards points. Perks that stretch your budget and make life a little easier. Losing these benefits means less money for your family's everyday essentials like gas and groceries. The perks you rely on could disappear, leaving you with higher costs and fewer options. Tell Congress to guard your card and oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card mandates.
Paid for by Electronic Payments Coalition.
Hello, this is international football commentator Derek Ray, and you're listening to the Ranks FC podcast.
Hello Rank Squad and welcome to Ranks FC. It's your favourite transatlantic football podcast. My name's Jack Collins and I will be your host there, and joining me from across the water, all the way from San Diego, is Mr. Dean Jones. How you doing, mate?
Hello, mate. Yeah, I'm good. Ready to crack on with the new football season, mate, which is why we're doing this episode today. It's not quite hot takes. I wouldn't go as far as that, although a couple of them might be teetering on being hot takes. But bold predictions is kind of how I wanted to redress it once I started to make my assessments of what I was going to say on here today. I mean, a hot take would be like, something outlandish, wouldn't it? Like Crystal Palace win the treble. So it's not like that. But I think especially my biggest claim is going to be quite a big one today. So I'm interested, and it isn't trolling. I'm not trying to troll anyone today with the ones that I come up with. It's not to wind anyone up. But obviously we can't just be like, I think Liverpool win the league. It's not going to be that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to what you've got to say. How are you doing?
I'm good. I would say warm takes is probably how I would describe it.
Warm takes, okay.
Slightly warmer takes than perhaps usual. I'm good. I've been at a shoot all day. It's been lovely. There's been some really interesting characters around. Gareth A. Davis, boxing commentator, Rory Delap, famous for those flat long throws, who was just lobbing balls at us all day. David James. It's been absolutely incredible. We've had a really, really nice day. So fair play. It's
any gossip on Liam Delap from his dad?
I did question him on why he hadn't declared for the Republic.
Did you actually?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
He was like, I just let him do it. It's not hot. It's not.
It's not. No. I thought I might get a story out of you there, but that's not a story.
Well, I was hoping for a story out of him, but I got nothing. He was just like, he decided what he was going to do. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. Not much I can really disagree with.
Letting his kid live his own life. What a modern age thing to do.
Honestly, some fella. So, I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to these warm takes, shall we say. But before we do that, I think it's probably time to start with things we love. So I'm going to hand over to you, DJ, to start us off.
Mate, the thing I love at the moment is, and this might be kind of sorted by the time people are listening to this, but Sesko playing Man United and Newcastle, because that's what he's been doing. It's like he's got this little smirk on his face, right? And he's chatting to Newcastle, and he's like, yeah, I want to join you. And they're like, oh, do you? He's like, yeah, I do. I want to join you. They're like, oh, okay. Well, we'll definitely put in all the money then, and we'll do that. He's like, yeah, okay. And then Man United phone up 10 minutes later, and they're like, right, we just want to make sure that we're first in the queue here, but we've got to be sure that you want to join us. And he's like, oh yeah, I want to join you. Don't worry about that. And then so Man United like, okay, he wants to join us. So then Newcastle go 80 million euros plus 10, 90 million euros, way too much money for Benjamin Sesko. And Man United are like, oh, well, we weren't planning to pay that much. And we remember we were like, did that big interview with Jim Ratcliffe at the start of the year where we were like, we're not doing this anymore. We're not overpaying for players. We've been stung on Sancho, stung on Anthony. We were stung on Højlund. We had all these prolonged talks, ended up caving in every single time. And we can't do that anymore. But he did say he really wants to join us. So let's just drop it by like 5 mil. And we'll go back to him in the morning. And Sesko must be sat there thinking, this is fun. Like, it was a bit annoying when Arsenal didn't sign me earlier in the summer and they picked Gyökeres, but I'll enjoy this because I'm definitely going to the Premier League now and I'm just going to play these two along. And obviously it works for RB Leipzig because they've got the Premier League bidding war that they've hoped for all along. And they didn't get it out of Arsenal because no one joined it at the time. And so but they had to get rid of him. They need the money. And now here we are, final month of the window. And yeah, I've just got this vision of Sesko and his team just kind of giggling to themselves every time the phone rings, whether it's Newcastle or Man United, to see where he ends up. And it's funny because today, even after both of the bids, I'm told he wants to join Man United over Newcastle. Like that seems to be the whispers in football circles, if you like. But publicly, he still hasn't actually, as I sit here right now, declared where he wants to go. But obviously, Newcastle have missed out on a fair few. Here's the thing, right? Newcastle could do better. I mean, and both teams could do better than spending this money this way. But what if Newcastle went and got like Visser and Ollie Watkins instead? It's not going to be far off that amount. Like, that's better. Yeah. That's a much better use of money. So it might be that whoever loses out on Sesko actually wins overall because they have to go and sign someone else that might actually be better. I haven't seen enough of Sesko to completely declare that I don't think he's the right person for Man United. But like a lot of people who have watched Sesko a lot and do know more about Amorim and where he's taken this team do tell me that they don't believe that Sesko is worth the gamble at this price to fit this team. But look, needs must. Man United need a number 9. Can't go with Haaland again. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, this is the thing I love, mate. I just the thought of Sesko and his mates sat there taking these phone calls and just saying, yeah, we want to join you. We want to join you. And he'll land somewhere and he'll be happy. And he'll bang in a few goals.
I'm really intrigued by this because I'm not sure this is the right move for either club. Like, it's not news that I'm not completely sold on Sesko, right? Like, this has been a thing I've been talking about for a little while now. I feel like he remains a relatively one-dimensional striker. I think he has the potential to go and absolutely smash it through the roof. I don't think he's there yet. And I also don't think he's going to get that much more expensive than where he is right now. But a bidding war suits Leipzig down to the ground, right? Like, I do think that the fact that he is kind of the last remaining, in inverted commas, right? Last remaining striker on the market is really helping everyone out. Now, I think you could get Marcus Thuram out. I think you could maybe, if I'm Newcastle, I'm thinking, give me 100 million if you're Liverpool and give me Darwin Nunez. I think that would work. I think that there is a Nicholas Jackson to play for with, a lot of the market remaining. I'm not convinced. Like, look, I hope he proves me wrong. I really, really do. I really hope that he goes in there and absolutely smashes it. And there's a lot of his game that I really like, right? He's a brilliant dribbler. He strikes the ball incredibly well. I'm not sold on his decision-making. Can he improve that over the years? Will he get time to improve that if he's at Manchester United? And is he going to be the kind of transitional threat that Newcastle United need? I don't know. Like, I'm not really sold on either of these moves for a Benjamin Sesko perspective. And honestly, I think that Newcastle would be better going and be like, what if we put in a bid for Lois Openda? Like, that might work. But yeah, it is very much in play now. And I think it's really interesting seeing how it is. And I was with Statman Dave earlier, and he is very convinced that he thinks if United are going to sign a 9, he was like, look, I think United should be signing a central midfielder before they sign anyone else. And before that, he thinks they should be signing, a centre-back. But I do think it's interesting that, he thinks it's the guy that United should sign if there is a 9 on the market. I'm less convinced, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty banging for the first game of the season if they line up with Mbeumo, Cunha and Sesko. I mean, at least you're showing the fans, look, we weren't good enough. Look at this. We've done our best. We've done our best to transform this team. We just spent £200 million on these 3. You're like, fair enough. At least you're giving it a crack. Like, it's better than what we had to offer last season. And we've still got good backups for them now, as long as we've got rid of the deadwood at the same time. So, yeah, it's all fun and games. But, yeah, that is the thing I love.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to talk about a striker and the thing I love, and it's Evan Ferguson, who's obviously moved to Roma on loan from Brighton on, with not obligation, but an option to buy. 6 goals in 3 games in pre-season. And 4 of them came in 1 game, so let's not all get too excited. And they have been against teams of a lower caliber. But I'm really excited for Evan Ferguson to start showing the form again that he showed that made him be talked about once as a £100 million player, right?
That's true. That is actually true, yes.
That's the discussion that people were having at one point. And I do think that whilst he may never make it back to that exact kind of point of his career, we're about to see an Evan Ferguson under Gian Piero Gasperini. We know how Gasperini juices numbers, right? Like, I think this could be the breakout. Like, I would not be surprised. Hey, we're starting these hot takes early, right? I would not be surprised if Evan Ferguson is capocannoniere in Serie A next year. I think that he is going to cook in Rome. And I think that this system, the whole way that Gasperini's teams play, obviously I've watched them a couple of times in pre-season, and there's only so much you can take, right? Pinches of salt, full shakers of salt at this point. But I am excited to see what Evan Ferguson can put together under Gasperini in Rome. And honestly, considering how good he was, how good and how exciting he was as a youngster, I really think this could be the making of him. And I feel like it could be one of those where, like, in 5 years' time, we're like, Evan Ferguson's been banging it in Serie A for a number of years. And I really hope this is the making of him. So that's my thing I love at the moment. That deal, that whole shebang. And I'm really, really excited to see how he gets on.
Yeah. Let's hope he lives up to the way you've built him up here, mate. He's obviously got a lot of lost time to make up for, hasn't he? Really, that's probably what it feels like to him too. And he can't afford
20 years old though.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of last season, like it was a missed season, wasn't it? It was one that really should have seen him take off. And that loan spell at West Ham was a nightmare. So he'll want to get back to doing what he does, and sounds like he's on the way to doing that.
Well, it's a good start. And as ever, we take preseason, in the way that preseason is supposed to be taken. But also with Joao Pedro leaving Brighton, this could have been a real moment for him to be like, no, that number 9 shirt is mine. I'm going. Yeah. This is me. And instead, obviously, Brighton have let him go with a potential option to make that permanent. I wonder if they'll regret that.
Yeah, that's true. But it's up to him to prove it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We will see. But I do think that this could be very, very special from Evan Ferguson, the Eternal City. So also Roma released a kit. They basically released an Ireland kit as their third kit, which is cool.
Did they?
It's cool. Pure white with gold and green on the shoulders, and
that's fun.
That with Ferguson 11 on the back, already on the way to the wardrobe is probably.
Is it indeed? Yes. Your dream combo.
Of course it is. Very, very exciting. Right, we're going to take a break there. When we come back, we're going to be starting our main ranking, talking about warm takes that we've got for the season. Don't go anywhere. When we started this podcast, it seemed like we had to figure it all out on our own. Scripts, setup, filming schedule, logos. It was super overwhelming, and every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Allbirds and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/ranks. Go to shopify.com/ranks. That's shopify.com/ranks.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ziprecruiter.com/zip. That's ziprecruiter.com/zip. ziprecruiter.com/zip.
Welcome back to Ranks FC, and it's time for our main ranking. And I'm going to hand over to Dean Jones to get us started on his hot takes for the season.
Yeah, hot takes, bold predictions, warm takes, whatever you want to call them. I just call them things that you can trust me are about to happen in the next 10 months. So I've got 5 things listed here. 3 of them are pretty mainstream, I guess. 2 are a little bit more quirky. But I'll start with the one that I just want to talk about. It's almost a thing I love, to be honest. we always want to see that breakout player. We always want to see the next big thing. And there was obviously Cole Palmer made a massive splash. We saw Miles Lewis-Skelly go and do it at Arsenal and prove that, he could break through to a team that were heading for big things. So who's it going to be this year? Well, right now, it looks to me like the guy with a big breakout moment coming is Rio Ngamoa. Like, what is this guy doing? This lad is ridiculous, isn't he? Like,
stupid good by the looks of it.
Stupid good. And I haven't even watched him for prolonged periods yet. I'm making a point of watching Liverpool's pre-season games at the moment just to see what he's doing beyond the highlight reels. But that is his game. He gets the ball, he runs at people. He's like kind of like how Raheem Sterling burst onto the scene almost, I was
just about to say, a young Raheem Sterling.
It's like a throwback, and he's scary in the way that he'll throw his shoulders and he'll just throw people off balance. He's not scared of anything. He'll hit a ball, and as soon as he gets a sight of goal and a little gap opens up, he'll hit it. He's not scared of, well, obviously, like the opponents so far are pre-season opponents, but he's playing at Anfield still, and he's completely unfazed by that. And do you know what? Like, if I was Arne Slot, I'd throw him in for the start of the season. Be like, do you know what? This summer, Liverpool have gone so big in the market. They're Premier League champions. Everyone's excited about Wirtz and Ekitike and maybe Isak and anything else that they might do from here on out. But would there be anything more exciting for a Liverpool fan than to see this lad actually light it up? Bournemouth, home, first game of the season. Ngamoa goes and runs at a couple of players, gets past and bangs one in the corner, first goal of the season. Now, obviously, it's unlikely because he probably won't start that game. But I do think, Jack, he'll get on in that game because he's done so well in these weeks. So whatever happens, I do think he's going to get the chance to now be in the first team and in and around it. And we will get a sensational moment from him pretty soon. So that will kind of elevate him. He's 16 right now. He turned 17 at the start of the season. So far, he's represented England in the unders and stuff. But we've seen it happen before where you kind of elevate yourself across a season and suddenly you're at a major tournament or something. Maybe this is the guy. I don't even think I'm overhyping him, mate, from what I see. He's so good.
I think he will have an impact. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what Liverpool do in terms of their formation, in terms of who plays where. Like if Florian Wirtz is playing off that left-hand side with Cody Gakpo there as a kind of backup, is there going to be options for him to be able to come in and make a difference? I don't know. That's the only bit about this that I'm a little bit wary of. But I think that in a couple of young superstars really make their mark in pre-season. We've seen Rio for Liverpool. We've seen Max Daumann for Arsenal as well, who also looks like he could be an absolute world beater at this point. I'm always wary at this age of throwing things, way too far than they need to be.
Yeah.
But everything about him is incredibly exciting, right? Like everything about him that we've seen looks like he's a player ready to take on the world. And also, in the last few years, we've seen Lamine Yamal emerge as, a young superstar who's become a superstar, full stop, right? And I'm not suggesting that these two are going to make the same trajectory, right? By any means. And I know there's a lot of chat about what Lamine Yamal could be, about what it happens, but equally, you have to occasionally give a chance to someone who's this talented early on. There is also a thing about being a youngster, I think, where you haven't got that fear, where you haven't got the worry about losing the ball in the same way that you do as a 28, 29-year-old, which is exciting for fans to watch, which doesn't necessarily mean that the manager is like, yeah, I'm delighted with you for going on there, taking a player on, losing the ball, and potentially putting us in a situation that we have to then scramble to defend, right? It doesn't always work in the same way that we as fans like to see, because those players at sometimes kind of put the entire team structure in jeopardy. And I can understand that from a youngster's perspective, because they're like, why not? Like, why would I not go and try and electrify the crowd? Why would I not try and get people on the edge of their seats? And it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen a youngster kind of set off, be the guy, and everyone's like, get him on, get him on, get him on. And then it kind of comes back at you, and actually the manager is a little bit more reticent to pick them because perhaps it doesn't work in the same way that the rest of their team wants to work. But as you say, like, he does look like he's ready to kind of take on the world at this point. And that is incredibly exciting, I imagine, from a Liverpool perspective.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Rio in action for Liverpool, then go and look him up on YouTube right now. Right, the next one I just want to touch on, which is not a typical kind of headline that you see under these sorts of shows, is a random one. But my bold prediction is that Spurs finished 10th, the same position as Thomas Frank ended at Brentford last season.
Yeah.
It's obviously not the expectation. They are the Europa League winners. They are expecting more from their league campaign than they got under Ange last season when they finished 17th.
That would be a 7-place jump.
It would be a 7-place jump. But would it be good enough? Would it be good enough? That's what I'm not sure about. It's better, but at a time when fans are demanding more, is it enough? Last season, they obviously went on and won a trophy, which was everything. This season, they're in the Champions League. And that's part of the reason why I can see this ending with Tottenham ending in mediocrity of 10th. At Brentford, that was totally fine for Thomas Frank. I mean, to be honest, could have ended up higher than that in the table.
Yeah, 100%.
But him and his coaching staff have to adapt to the new levels that are expected of them. They've also got to adjust to the squad that they've inherited, and that they've started to obviously improve it with Kudus and Palhinha, and they will sign other players. But they've lost Son, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. Maddison has his injury. They didn't manage to sign Morgan Gibbs-White, so they're still going to sign like at least one creative player, probably two, to be honest. But then you've still got to integrate those players, and you've got to push your style of play onto the team when it might not naturally be the way that they've been playing previously. There'll be fan pressure at times, like Tottenham fans demand a lot. I'm just kind of intrigued by the fact of, like I said at the start, I'm not doing this to troll or anything. This isn't a dig at Tottenham and their fans. But I just think that when you consider everything that's coming up this season, and at the moment, the depth of the squad, it's going to be difficult to balance the ambitions of European football and the schedule that comes with it, and reach that top 6, 7 that really they'll be striving for. And it might just be that Thomas Frank, who's left Brentford for better things, actually ends up in a very similar position, certainly league-wise, next season.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with this take. Like, I do not think that Spurs will end up 10th. I think they will end up higher than that. I think they will end up back in the European places. But I don't hate the concept. I don't hate the idea of where it's coming from. And I do think it's going to be really interesting to watch them navigate the idea of Champions League football. And look, I would make this point about Chelsea as well, right? Like, as in last year, Chelsea could play basically a completely separate squad in the Conference League, because obviously there was a competition that until the quarter semi-finals, they didn't need the full shebang for, right? Like they only needed to be able to get through the rounds. And that's easy enough. And one of the question marks I've had over Maresca in this big squad is, well, you can't do the same thing. You can't have a midweek squad and then a weekend squad. That doesn't work if you're in the Champions League. I imagine that Spurs will pick up a couple of important pieces between here and the end of the transfer window. And I think that the next signing that they have to make has to be someone who fans are going to get excited by, right? It has to be someone that they're going to actually kind of push through and be like, wow, okay, we've made a statement signing there. And I think, look, Kudus was one of those. Palhinha might well be another. But, what are we talking about in terms of depth? What are we talking about in terms of being able to kind of rotate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Well, they've been linked with Eze, Grealish, Leao, Rodgers, Xavi Simons, Nico Paz, El Canus, Rodrigo, Garnacho. They've certainly been linked with enough players to have just signed one that's going to get fans off their seats.
Sure, but as in you have to make sure that they fit the makeup of the squad, the dressing room, etc., etc. I do think that it's going to be very interesting who Thomas Frank goes for as his next signing in terms of being the Tottenham manager. I just have a feeling they're going to get this right. And that's why I would probably disagree with this take. And look, we might come back to this at the end of the window and I'll be like, hands up, I was completely wrong about this. Hands up, they didn't get the players in that I thought they were going to get. They didn't get the attacking creative midfielders, which is, I think, where Spurs need the most right now, especially with Maddison injured and Kulusevski out for, at least the start of the season. It does feel like they really need a couple in there. But if that's Harvey Elliott, if that's a couple of players in there who, be able to take on not only the attacking kind of creative fulcrum role, but also who are going to bring in the amount of energy that Thomas Frank is going to want from his front, or the three behind the striker, then maybe that'll be all right. But I know where you're coming from as we speak right now. Yeah.
Harvey Elliott in talks with RB Leipzig, interestingly, right now. But I think that's one of my hotter takes, I'll say. That was one of my hotter takes. It's a bit off-piste, but as I said at the start, you've got to have some difference-making decisions here that you're throwing out there, and that's one of them. Number 3, this is not a hot take. Graham Potter will be sacked by Christmas.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And replaced by Sean Dyche.
I hate that, but yeah, fair enough.
It's not that out there. It's not that.
Man of claret and blue, old Sean Dyche, isn't he?
It's just not that out there on either front. Now, the hotter take is probably that Dyche comes in, but for Potter to be sacked by Christmas, I mean, they were obviously already struggling when he took over this job. Lopetegui last season struggled, and they had a couple of goes at letting him ride the waves, but he couldn't do it, and he eventually was sunk. But Graham Potter just hasn't got much charisma in the way he talks. I'm not saying that should matter, but West Ham right now feel like, as a fan base, they seem like they're on their knees, to be honest. They're so disheartened by everything that's going on. Most of them are just sick to the back teeth of David Sullivan, and the fact that they, for some reason, have no money, for some reason can't strengthen. They're worried that more players might yet leave to just open up funds. And in the meantime, they've seen one of their best players join their main rival in Kudus go to Tottenham. And, last season they were already flirting with relegation, and they need to see a vast, vast improvement to make sure they're not in that situation again. Now, actually, in pre-season, their performances actually haven't been too bad so far.
They've got a lot better. That first game that they played in the summer series was absolutely dreadful. One of the worst performances I've seen from both sides, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay, you put me on my place there. The last one wasn't too bad.
The last one was okay. They've got a lot better. And also, there seems to be a new kind of thing that the West Ham fans cling on to, in that, Malik Diouf is going to throw in crosses for the back post. And look, he is a cross merchant, right? He loves spamming crosses. It's what he did at Slavia Prague. It's what he's going to do at West Ham. They're going to get the ball out to him. He's going to swing it in. He's a 6'2" footballer. He's going to defend that back post really well. He's aerially really strong. I actually think that's a really good signing. And actually, from a fullback perspective, West Ham are absolutely fine, right? They're not, this isn't the issue. Obviously, Kyle Walker-Peters coming in to be able to be a swing kind of fullback in many ways in terms of what he can do is fine. And there's a couple of players in there, Ollie Scarles obviously as well, who are going to be able to do a job. And it's obviously nice to see a youngster come through at the same place. But I do think that everywhere else, it looks incredibly weak right now. I don't hate the take that Potter will go, because I think that we're at a place here where West Ham fans had time to kind of get used to him, in inverted commas, and it's not been great, right? As in the back 6 months of last season were really, really not hugely impressive from a West Ham perspective. But he has to turn things around really quickly. He has to go and win 3 of the first 7, 8 in order to actually get people on side. And I'm not quite sure that's where they're at.
No, I think that's unlikely as we sit here. I mean, maybe Nicholas Füllkrug has a blinding start to the season. Maybe Callum Wilson exceeds expectation after joining them.
I'd love for you to be wrong here because I'd love Graham Potter to actually go and succeed.
I'd love to be wrong too. I just feel like there's so much negativity, and that getting rid of him early on will end up being a way to kind of
clear the air.
Clear the air, yeah. And I mean, I don't know whether bringing Sean Dyche in would necessarily placate a fan base that are already agitated, but there might be something about Dyche that is more relatable to West Ham fans. I don't know. I really do fear for Potter.
That Potter isn't the kind of man long for the West Ham world, and I really hope I'm wrong because
he's very like Fulham, Brighton, Brentford, like yeah. He's not like you got to be tough to be West Ham, right? You got to.
Yeah, and you can criticise Moisey all he likes, but he was a tough boy.
He was a tough cookie, mate, and he's hard as nails, right? And I don't know, I've never seen Graham Potter in a scrap. I've never seen him confront people. I've never seen him... A couple of times we've seen him snap a little bit, but yeah, I think West Ham fans want someone who's a bit scary, or at least they've got a respect level for, in the sense that he can get something out of those players that is... unforeseen.
I do think he might be eaten alive, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to all be tactics, right? And West Ham, sometimes they just want to see you smashing people, put in loads of effort in. And while obviously like Potter will make sure the team are fit and all that kind of jazz, but it's very much like football chess, isn't it, for him? And it's about being forward thinking, and so it's got to go really, really well for him in that sense, or I do think he's in big trouble.
I think he's in big trouble because unless they strengthen incredibly well in the next sort of 3 weeks of the window, and even then, is he going to be able to bed them in time? I don't know. But it's a mishmash of characters now at West Ham. You know, obviously the people that Lopetegui brought in, the people that Moyes brought in. Can you bring that disparate group together in a way that's going to make people buy into the concept of what you got going on? I'm unconvinced right now.
Yeah, there you go. Let's roll it on. This next one is a very common theme when we come to bold predictions, and it's obviously top goal scorer is something people always want to talk about heading into a season. And I've decided to look at the European Golden Shoe rather than just the Premier League top goal scorer, because I think that Erling Haaland has... Evan Ferguson just pips Erling Haaland to it. No, Erling Haaland bounces back big style here. If he stays fit this time around, he bangs 40. And that wins it for him. Now, obviously, he struggled last season because he didn't have the game availability that would have helped him in this category, and would have helped his team as well in their bid to try and win the Premier League again. But he was outscored by Isak, Retegui, Kane, Lewandowski, Salah, and Kylian Mbappe, who did indeed win the Golden Shoe last time around. But no one really talks about Haaland at the moment. He's kind of just a bit of a forgotten figure. Even when it comes to Fantasy Premier League, loads of people are dismissing him. I'm
not dismissing him, but I did leave him out.
But why? Why? Because you can't believe that he's done. You can't believe that.
Not at all. I thought my money was spent in better ways.
It can't be though. He's going to be the top goal scorer in the Premier League. If he's not injured, he's going to be the best. He's going to be the best striker in the league because he is the best striker in the league. And Man City aren't going to be rubbish. So I don't understand the logic. I think, well, I'm not going to go Haaland. Instead, I'm going to do whatever it is, like Visser and Watkins or something. It's like, well, no, that's not going to do it for you, because you, especially in Fantasy Premier League, you want a captain. You want someone who's going to bang in hat-tricks. You want someone who you can rely on. Haaland's going to be that guy. Anyway, I wasn't intending to talk about Fantasy Premier League. I just think, mate, that he'll be fired up for this. He's had a break. On the first day of training, he had this looked like he was stepping in with purpose. And
glint in his eyes.
He really did. He looked clean. He looked fresh. He looked extremely fit and strong. And that's a scary we know what Haaland's like, but he gets bigger every season. And you're not going to want to come up against this lad. So, yeah, I think that we get maybe even a record-breaking season out of him. And Man City need it, right? There's some videos flying around at the moment of City in training, and some of the keep ball sessions that they're doing are outrageous, to be honest. Absolutely outrageous, the way that they keep a ball in some of these little tight sessions. And I think that obviously Pep's up against it a bit this season. There's pressure on him because people are now saying, right, he's overthinking it, and he hasn't been able to buy success last year. He's failed in that sense. He even tried to ignite things by signing people. Didn't work. And the signings over the summer, I guess, have been a little underwhelming compared to years gone by. But I don't know, man. I just think I have this burning desire to prove they're not done. And if you've got Guardiola and Haaland back at it, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's going to be very interesting how City play this year. And if they are as vertical as it suggests they might be, considering the signings they've made, considering, Marmouches and your Tijani Reinders, you've brought in a load of 10s, which makes me feel like they're going to play attacking wing backs that might allow them to play 3 10s across the middle. The only question I would have, I suppose, on this, and look, Haaland loves vertical football, right? We saw this at Dortmund. He was the man who loved getting in behind. Are City going to be allowed that kind of space in behind, considering it's still Man City and considering that teams will know exactly what they want to do? The only question I suppose I would have about this take is it going to be a lot of goals from the 3 behind? Is it going to be a lot of goals from Marmouche from the edge of the box? Is it going to be a lot of goals from Shirky from the edge of the box? Is it going to be a lot of goals from, I don't know, a Phil Foden or a Bernardo Silva or whoever ends up playing in these positions? And Haaland doing a lot of work off the ball in order to open up those spaces. That would be my main question over your take here. Not because I don't think Erling Haaland is going to have a good season, because I think he absolutely will. And we know what he's like in terms of grabbing goals. But if City go as vertical as I think they might do, then actually I do wonder if it takes the centre forward out of it a little bit, in terms of not because Haaland isn't good at that, but because teams will not give them the space for him to get in behind.
Yeah. Possibly. He'll see to that. He'll see to that. He's a goal monster.
We'll see.
I'm going to go on to number 1. This is pretty big. Arsenal win the league.
Okay, explain.
I think we forget just how good they are for stretches of a season. And that they really are so close to getting to that 90-point mark where they are there. And they're obviously not favourites to win the league. So I'm not saying that I expect Arsenal to win the league.
Well, you are, it's your hot take.
Yeah, but you always just everyone will say Liverpool, right? And then it's possibly Man City. But nobody last year, if I just sat here and said Liverpool will win the league, I'd have been laughed at. And do you think it's less of a shout to say that Arsenal will win the league now ahead of next season than it was to have said it a year ago about Liverpool winning the league?
No, not at all. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to say. I wonder if it's weird, because obviously Arsenal and Liverpool have both done a lot in this market, right? They've both think, and this is the question that always kind of dogs all of the arguments we have about Arsenal and, second and all of those things. It's how much of this is a little stretch of luck? How much of this is a little stretch of, good fortune smiling on you when the moment requires it most? And I think that that's the thing. Arteta has taken them to a point where they're in the conversation pretty much every year. How much of that is him not being able to take them over the line. And the only answer to that question is him taking them over the line. That's the thing, right? There's no way of getting through that unless he just does it. Whereas I think with Liverpool last year, it was a complete blitz from the blue in that there was no signings and a new manager and the end of a legacy in Jurgen Klopp. The idea that Liverpool would go and win it was almost ridiculous considering what happened the season before and where the other two teams were. Now, it doesn't seem ridiculous right now because Arne Slot has gone in there and done an absolutely unbelievable job. But I don't think it's weird to say that Arsenal will win this. I just question whether it's wild to call a title winner at this point, because I'm kind of looking at it and thinking almost any of the top four could win this. And that's really where I'm at.
So my take began as Arsenal finally win a trophy again, right? So they won the FA Cup in 2020.
Arteta's first season, right?
So it's been a wait. Yeah, it's been a wait. And I was like, well, I can't really just go into the show with that because that's pretty vague. And we've just seen a season where it's shown that anyone can win a trophy.
I also don't think it's that weird to suggest, and this would be my take, Arsenal potentially, if Arsenal win a trophy, it's going to be the Premier League.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be anything else.
That's true. And I don't just want to say, like, Arsenal will win the FA Cup. Well, a complete luck of the draw, and it depends on who you've got available for that game, that specific game week. If you're without...
Who you come up against in the draw, right?
Yeah, you suddenly play against Liverpool in the third round, and in that week in training, Saka and Gyökeres and Saliba get injured.
Right in form.
Yeah.
You don't know that.
So like that, I can't really predict that. But over the course of a season, if they could keep the majority of their team fit, and obviously like Victor Gyökeres comes into this conversation massively. The one thing that you want this team to have is a guy who has that win now attitude. And we've talked about him here before in that sense, but like he has the mentality that of like a Haaland, you know, and like might have that Kane-like attribute for goals in the Premier League that Arsenal haven't had for a while. And like the Premier League's been missing since Kane left. And I think Gyökeres with that, like just pure determination and strength and desire combined with his technical ability is going to bring something that they didn't have previously. And when you combine that with the fact that, you know, you're getting players into their prime now, like Saka and Odegaard and Saliba and stuff, who are just stepping it up and stepping it up and stepping it up. They got David Raya and Go as one of the best goalkeepers you could hope to have. You got Miles Lewis-Skelly, who's emerged in his own right to become one of the best fullbacks. You've signed Zubimendi for the midfield that lets Declan Rice have a new sense of freedom. There's probably still somebody missing on the left-hand side that would fully convince me of this, but we'll see. Maybe they still manage to do that. Arsenal can win the league. And they've
of course they can.
But I don't think many people were honestly thinking this right now. I think that most people would rank title favourites as Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal. That's my personal feeling, just from what I've seen leading into this season.
Yeah, I mean, I would have had City and Arsenal around the other way. But to call the second favourite winning it is not the wildest shout in the entire world, right? So, look, as I say, like a lot of luck comes into these things, the stretches of the season, the work for you, etc., etc. I think Arsenal have done as much as they can apart from a left winger, which I think they will bring in. And at that point, you're like, well, what more can you ask for from a transfer window? If you were to ask an Arsenal fan, right, okay, maybe someone would be like, oh, we need an Eze and a left winger. Fine. But, you know, considering what they've done here, they've brought in a defensive midfielder who's amongst the best in his position in the world. They've brought in a number 9 who, yes, isn't proven in the Premier League, but how can he prove it unless he goes somewhere else first? And then you have to pay a premium. Then you have to pay a Premier League tax. So you brought in a number 9 who can do the business, and we know has been able to do the business across different leagues. You know, did it in the physical nature of the Championship, did it to a ridiculous extent in Portugal. And I know a lot of people talk about the Primera without watching the Primera, and they'll be like, oh yeah, he hasn't, you know, he's had an easy run of it. That's not quite the case. It's not how it works in Portugal. And, you know, if they bring in a left winger here, I think they're right in the conversation. You know, that's the one that I'm looking at and saying, here you go. You bring in that player who can offer you not only a creative threat, and I don't mean this just in terms of goals and assists, right? But it stops you being doubled down on that right-hand side. It stops you having players being like, cool, we'll just cover up Saka and hope for the best, because therefore the creative juice is a little bit less, because we know that Odegaard likes to kind of drift out to that side anyway. Like, you bring in someone who can make things happen from that left-hand side, I think they're right in the conversation.
Yeah, next week, I guess it's time to do our Premier League preview show. And within that, I'm going to make sure that I've got some thorough evidence of why Arsenal beat Liverpool to the Premier League title. There you go. Tune in next week.
There you go. Keep coming back to Ranks FC. On that bombshell, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, I've got a couple of little warm takes for you to have a listen to as well. Don't go anywhere. When we started this podcast, it seemed like we had to figure it all out on our own. Scripts, setup, filming schedule, logos. It was super overwhelming, and every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Allbirds and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/ranks. Go to shopify.com/ranks. That's shopify.com/ranks.
Welcome back to Ranks FC, where it's Jack's go to predict the Premier League title winner and the Golden Shoe winner, or just go a bit off piece and do whatever you want. What have you got for us, mate?
I've got 5 as well, but I'm going to keep them relatively short. And I'm going to do a couple of Premier League ones first, then a couple from around Europe. My first one is that Brighton finish ahead of Manchester United. Like, I just think this is going to happen. Like, I'm really, really confident in Brighton this season. And we have these conversations, you're like, who are your dark horses, right, in the Premier League? What's happening? Brighton also don't have European football. There's been a lot of chat about, United playing once a week, and it's going to be the change. It's going to be the thing that matters. It's going to be the thing that propels them up the table. And you know what? I think United will be better. I think they will be in that conversation for European football. I just think Brighton finished ahead of them. Hertzler's second year, I think he's got rid of a lot of the players that didn't necessarily fit his system. Simon Adingra is a good one, right? £21 million to Sunderland. Simon Adingra is an incredibly talented footballer. There is absolutely no doubt about that. But did he fit what Hertzler wanted from this Brighton team? And I know Joao Pedro's gone. I think that is a big blow. But they bring in Kostoulas from Olympiacos, who I think is really interesting. They bring in Maxime de Kuyper. They bring in Tom Watson. They bring in Coppola. They bring in Pascali. And you're looking at it thinking, okay, is this Brighton going to be more like what we expected from Hertzler? What we saw from Hertzler in the first half of last season? Are we going to see more and more and more? And I think this is going to be Hertzler turning the gears up on Brighton, especially now that they're playing, once a week. Now that they have the ability to go a little bit Bielsa, if you want. Now, they're not similar managers in terms of what they demand, in terms of what they expect from their players. But I do think that Hertzler's system will settle in to this Brighton team. I don't think they brought him in for a 1-year period. I don't think they brought him in for a 2-year period. I think they brought him in for the long haul because they think he has the capacity to take this side to the next level. And considering what they've done in the market, I think they've been very, very smart. They're currently about 43 million in the black. They have more money to spend. I think that Brighton are going to absolutely shock a few people this season. I think that they could be right in that conversation with Villa and Newcastle, not with your Tottenham and Manchester United at this point. So I'm going to go for number one with, I think the Brighton will finish ahead of United.
Mate, I've seen, people start to make their predicted tables and stuff, and I've seen quite a few people putting Brighton 5th or 6th. So you're not alone.
Which I think is reasonable. Yeah.
You're not alone. People are literally pitching Brighton now to be the best of the rest outside of Liverpool, Arsenal, City and Chelsea. That's a hot take for me. For Brighton to win the rest of the league is a big shout. To predict them to come above Newcastle, Villa, Tottenham, Man United. Yeah, I would be very surprised if that does. Hey?
That isn't what I said. I said they finish ahead of Man United.
No, I know, but if people are putting them 5th, which is what a lot of people are starting to build them up as, and where do you think Man United are going to finish? You've got to be putting them 5th or 6th,
8th.
Yeah, so you're still putting Brighton 5th or 6th.
Yeah. So I think they're in that. I think they're right in that conversation with your Villas and your Newcastles after the summer that all of them have had.
I think it wouldn't just be Man United haven't got the Champions League, and I think the fact that they've got that extra goal power and now in this team, and I think Amorim will have them better drilled to not produce so many errors. I've got more confidence in United not being as flaky. That's where my argument would come. But I need to get deeper into pre-season before I can really have faith in United, before I can say that you're totally wrong.
I think we need to get deeper into the season before I can have any faith in them. I have been impressed with what I've seen from Manchester United over the course of their summer series. It's not been perfect, but I think it's been a massive, massive improvement, right? But equally, I was chatting to Flex today, and obviously as a huge United fan who's been out there watching the games, he was like, it doesn't really matter. If we concede 3 to Arsenal on the opening day, then the heads can go straight away. Especially given that United's record against Arsenal at Old Trafford is really good. And then it's okay, cool. Then we've got Fulham away. And I'm like, look, do I think that Fulham are going to beat United? No, because Fulham have this weird thing where we're the only club in the entire world that's still scared of Manchester United by the looks of it. But when you kind of put it into that context, he was like, we win against Arsenal and we beat Fulham, then we beat Burnley. We might be top of the league by the end of August. And I was like, yeah, fair enough. And also not it's not a weird statement to suggest that those things might happen given history. I'm just unconvinced by some of what United are doing in the transfer market. And I really don't think they've addressed the main issues in the squad. And look, they might go and do that. We might have a different conversation with this in 3-4 weeks' time. Right now, I think Brighton have bought really well, and I think they're in a really good position to kick on. So I'm going to go with that one for now. All right, cool. Here's my second one. I'm going to do the Premier League first, and then I'm going to move on. Chelsea beat each of the rest of the top 4 at least once. So they beat Liverpool at least once. They beat Arsenal at least once. They beat City at least once. But they dropped 8 points to the bottom 6.
Oh, why?
Because I think that this is an incredibly inconsistent football team. And I really like what Chelsea put together. I really like in terms of their squad. I'm just not 100% sure I believe in them from a mentality perspective. And I think that they'll be like, oh, okay, it's Bournemouth at home today. And they'll be like, oh, we'll walk this one. We beat City at home last week. And therefore, they will drop these points. I'm not sure they're there yet from a mentality perspective. That is my big one. I think that they stepped up massively in the Club World Cup when it came to the biggest games. And I think they will continue to do that. And they will continue to put in performances against the biggest teams in the league that you're like, wow, they look like world beaters. They look like maybe the best team on earth. And then those heads will just not have the same kind of level of respect is maybe the wrong word, but focus perhaps when it comes to actually teams a little bit lower down. And I think that will be their undoing. It's the reason I think they will probably finish 4th right now in terms of where they are. I think this squad is unbelievable. I think there is so much talent in it. I'm still a little bit unsure as to some of the signings they still are kind of thinking about making, because I'm not sure this squad needs much more in terms of augmentation. I think it needs some dropouts as opposed to anything else. But I do think that maybe with a relatively rookie manager, and I say that in inverted commas as usual, like that they actually might just not be able to keep their heads for the entire season. I think that will be the thing that stops them challenging. And I think they drop big points to teams in the bottom half of the league.
World champions dropping points to the teams in the bottom section of the league. So you're telling me that the world champions are going to be losing to Sunderland?
Elland Road away screams 1-0 leads.
There's no way Chelsea could have that, is there? Those two are massive rivals. That is such a big rivalry between Chelsea and Leeds.
That might be a terrible shout, but like 1-0 at Sunderland, 1-0 at Sunderland away. Okay,
Leeds would be bang up for that, trust me, yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't know if they're quite there from a mental perspective. And then look, as I say, like, I really think this Chelsea side are incredibly talented. But I do think that the thing that means that they won't challenge for the title this year might be mentality as opposed to talent.
Yeah, fair enough. It might be. They've also got a long season ahead, like we talked about before, because of the World Club Cup. So to maintain those standards and level of performances across literally 12 months is different. I know they've obviously had a break right now, but it's very difficult to just pick it up and put it down. You know, like they were in a really good rhythm, and they probably can pick it up at the start of the season, and I think the fixture list suggests that they will be able to, but yeah, they've got to keep that squad rotated and fresh for a long time, and it'll be interesting to see where they can do that.
All right, my final Premier League take is that I think Brentford will be absolutely fine.
I do too. I think
Brentford will be grand.
I think this happens, right? And I don't know, absolutely grand. I think that might be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but like, I don't think Brentford are going to finish 10th. I think they'll finish 14th, but they'll be well clear of it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good from the outside right now. You know, if they lose Visser as well, which is still plausible.
Still going to be absolutely fine.
To lose Mbeumo and Visser and Norgard and Thomas Frank,
yeah,
is... Well, I talked at the start about them being 10th and like mid-table team. They wouldn't be a mid-table team anymore. They'll be mid-table at the bottom half of the table, so they'll be 15th. But yeah, they'll probably have too much still to get dragged into it. But it'll be interesting with Keith Andrews to see how he handles it. He's a very, very astute, intelligent guy who will really study things, and I've already seen videos of him putting on like presentations with the team and the way that he's talking in front of his he's got his screen up and he's talking him through it. That's all well and good, but you're in your first job in the Premier League and you're reacting on the job, bang, 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 in-game moments that change it. You're going down to 10 men, you score an early goal and you've got to defend for 80 minutes, or you go and get your second goal. You're trying to get back into the game. You lose your best player. All these different things, and you're up against the best coaches in the game. That's a huge, huge task. And I know that Keith Andrews was extremely concerned about the fact of losing both Visser and Mbeumo, and Brentford pretty much promised him that wouldn't happen. So far, he hasn't lost both, but he's lost one and the other one's still looking 50-50. So that's not great. And I do think that if Visser went, that could change things and there's more chance of danger.
Yeah, there's more chance of danger, 100%. But the thing I think that is going to make Brentford fine is that I don't think they can concede that many. Like, they have Kevin Keller, who's a major upgrade in goal, right? They have two centre-backs in Seth Vandenberg and Nathan Collins, who were amongst the best in the league last year. Ethan Pinnock coming in as a kind of rotation option in there is perfectly fine. They have really good fullbacks. If they can keep Aaron Hickey and Rico Henry fit, sure. But also, you know, they bring in different players to be able to play within this system and to make sure that those players are going to be all right. And you're looking at it thinking, yeah, those signings have been relatively good. And that, I think, for me, you know, Michael Coyote coming in at right back, that for me is, I think, the thing that makes them fine. I think the back four will be solid as a rock. And then, you go into the midfield and you're like, Vitaly Janelt played a lot of games last year. Obviously, they've kept hold of Matthias Jensen, who, to be honest, if I was a Liverpool looking for an extra player, that's where I would have gone. Like, they keep those two. They bring in a couple of extras. Obviously, Yarmolenko played quite a lot of games last year. We know there's a few more here who can make a difference. Then I don't think it's going to matter too much because we know that they're good from various ranges. We know they're good from set pieces. We know that these are the things. Keith Andrews was, of course, obviously the set piece coach. I think they'll have enough. I think they'll have more than enough to be out of danger. Now, obviously, if they lose Visser and maybe they lose two more, fine. I think Igor Thiago, and obviously we saw Kevin Schade kind of emerge at the end of last year as a genuine goal-scoring threat, the player that they thought he was going to be. Am I sure about the signing of Jordan Henderson? Nah. But I think the Brentford have more than enough to just be fine.
Two Fulham fans saying Brentford are going to be fine. Who'd have thought it? Who'd have thunk it?
I know it's not going to go down that well with the Fulham contingent, but I think they'll be absolutely grand. Do I think they're going to tear up trees? No. But I think they'll be absolutely grand. I think they'll have more than enough to stay in the division. And that, for me, considering the season or the summer they've just had, is probably okay. It's probably okay. Brentford finished 17th, a point clear. I think they'd be happy enough with that at this point. But I think they'll finish 14th and they'll be very, very far clear of it. They won't be involved in the scrap at the bottom. So there you go. There's my hot take on Brentford. All right, I'm going to take you quickly to the Iberian Peninsula. Here's one for you. Porto win the league. Third last year and third by an absolute distance, miles off it. Absolutely cooked in terms of where Benfica were, where Sporting were. But this summer has been really, really interesting from a Porto perspective. They bring in Victor Froholt from Copenhagen, who I think is going to be a superstar. They bring Gabriel Weiger coming back from the Saudi Pro League after that move early on where there was a lot of interest in him. Alberto Costa comes in as a replacement for João Mario. That's like for like in so many different ways. The only players they lose, like Otavio leaves. Yeah, I mean, that's a wild one. 23 years old, was starting to make his mark. He's gone off to Paris. That's fine. Not PSG, Paris FC, which is really interesting. But they bring in Noam Perez from Udinese, who's a very, very good footballer. They bring in Jan Bednarek, which I really don't like, but that's okay. Luke de Jong comes in as a centre forward, as an option, as a kind of late game option that they can throw into the mix. And Francesco Farioli comes in as the manager, right? That, for me, is the big one. They've brought in a manager who very, very nearly turned it all around at Ajax last season, who ran PSV, to the line. Now, obviously, it fell apart towards the end. I don't think that'll happen again. I think he'll learn his lesson here. And I think that this Porto side, considering the Sporting have obviously lost Victor Gyökeres, they've lost, a couple of key elements of this. Now, I know Marcus Edwards left in January, etc., but it just feels like they're standing still. And I really don't like it when clubs stand still. And what we've seen from Sporting is they bring in Luis Suarez from Almeria, not that one, and they bring in Kokorashvili, which I think is a really nice signing from Levante. But generally, I'm like, have they improved loads from last season? Not hugely. Now, Benfica have made some really interesting signings. They bring in Richard Rios from Palmeiras, who's obviously been well in demand from a number of clubs, which I think could be really, really intriguing. They bring in Franjo Ivanovic from Union Saint-Gilloise, who I think has the potential to go on and be an absolute incredible striker, but isn't there yet. But they kind of look in it and they lose Carreras from left back. Cabral leaves, obviously, for Botafogo. They lose a few key parts. Di Maria, for example, who obviously is 37 years old, but remained kind of key to the way that Benfica played over the course of last year. I've just got a funny feeling that Farioli really charges up this Porto team, who have been so far off the pace, right, for the last couple of years. Well, last year in particular, but the year before as well. I got a funny feeling they go and win it. A really funny feeling they go and win it. So I think this has been a really interesting summer at Porto. I'm excited to go and see them at the Dragao again. Obviously, now Boavista don't exist anymore, so that's going to be difficult for me. My membership has not been renewed. I let it roll. It hasn't rolled. It hasn't rolled. So we will see what happens with Boavista. There's still some legal cases to fight on this one. But I am excited to see what happens to Dragao, because I think that Porto have had a really interesting summer, and I think that they could go and really charge for it next year.
Very good, mate. Obviously, Porto are our Ranks FC team, aren't they? So we'd love to see it. Maybe we'll go back.
Last one from me is that this is going to sound really biased, but I'm going to do it anyway. Sevilla get relegated.
Well, we thought that last year for a bit.
Yeah. And you know what? It was bad last year. It was really bad last year. And it was, they survived. They got a couple of wins towards sort of March, and it looked like they were right in the mixer. They're the only club in La Liga not to have spent a penny this summer. They are in severe financial trouble. And it's a club, obviously, who have had so much success, and they are right in the muck. Right? They cannot sign players at this point. They've brought in Avon Gonzalez from Celta on a free. They brought in Gabriel Suazo from Toulouse, also on a free. Got a few loanees back. But they can't really sell, they can't really make. And at the moment, I'm really looking at this and saying, who else from the teams that survived last year is going to be in worse positions to be? And I can't see it. Like, we've seen takeovers in La Liga. We've seen some really interesting kind of buyouts. We've seen some teams kind of really kick on in terms of what we're expecting from them. And the promoted clubs, all right, they might go back down. And if they do, then Sevilla will come fourth bottom. But I really can't see it. I don't know where they're going. I don't know what they're trying to do. And I'm really lost on kind of seeing what Sevilla looks like right now. Obviously, they appointed a new manager in Matias Almeida. Is that going to be the answer? Is that the manager that they really, really need in order to do this? There's rumors that Dodi Lukabakio might leave. There's rumors that some of the bigger players are going to wander away because there's no backup for them. And look, this is something me and you talk about quite a lot, right? It's not just about whether a big player wants to leave. It's about where the rest of the squad look at and they go, well, if he's off, maybe I should be off as well, because there doesn't look there's any ambition here. And right now, they don't have the money to make anything that looks ambitious. I am concerned is the wrong word as a Betis fan, but you know what I mean, in that I think this could be a really, really difficult season for Sevilla.
Where did they actually end up last season? What position was it? Was it like, how far did they even manage to avoid it by? Was it?
They ended up 1 point clear of relegation.
Okay.
So they lost the last two, but they'd done enough by that point. It never really looked like they were going to be dragged in. But equally, we spoke about Girona here on the podcast, and I was like, hang on, they were Champions League side last year.
Yeah.
To the mix. Like, they looked really bad, and they won 2 of their last 5, and it was like 2 in 3 games, and that basically made them safe. And it was like Leganes won 3 of their last 4, and it makes it look a little bit more dangerous than it actually was in terms of how things work. Like, on the last day, Leganes won, Sevilla lost, and there was a 4-point gap between them. So the 1 point was never in danger, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's one of those kind of strange ones. Actually, the team that won on the last day to survive were Espanyol. But you kind of look at it and think, okay, so that's where you ended up. 10 wins, 11 draws, 17 defeats. And it hasn't got better. And I think that there will be at least one side that really kicks on from the promoted sides. Doesn't look pretty as far as I'm concerned.
I'm just looking it up. It looks like they've been in the top flight since 2001. That would
make sense.
Yeah. 25 years in the top flight and you're sending them down. Poor old Seville.
Yeah, I mean, look, it would be, I think it would be a bad thing for Spanish football generally. Much as a Betis fan, I would find that funny. I think generally you want the biggest clubs in La Liga. And, we talked about this when we were talking about Valencia. We talked about it when we were talking about, Espanyol, etc. You want those clubs in La Liga. But I really do feel like Sevilla might be in real trouble.
Very good, mate. Very good.
There you go. And there we have it. There's my 5 warm takes for the season. And on that bombshell, I think it's probably time for us to call it a day. So what's left for me to do is say thank you very much to Dean Jones.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Been an absolute pleasure. I've been Jack Collins. This has been Ranks FC. Thank you so much for listening as ever. We've got a couple of big announcements to make over the next couple of weeks. So make sure you're tuned in. The previews are coming. 5x5s are coming back. There's loads and loads to talk about. So we're going to be very excited to get stuck into the new season. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you soon. Take it easy, Rank Squad. Peace. When we started this podcast, it seemed like we had to figure it all out on our own. Scripts, setup, filming schedule, logos. It was super overwhelming, and every day seemed to introduce a new decision that needed an answer. When you're starting off with something new, it seems like your to-do list keeps growing every day with new tasks, and that list can easily begin to overrun your life. Finding the right tool that not only helps you out, but simplifies everything can be such a game changer. For millions of businesses, that tool is Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Allbirds and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Get started with your own design studio. With hundreds of ready-to-use templates, Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/ranks. Go to shopify.com/ranks. That's shopify.com/ranks.